Claire, how you doing this morning?
Hey, good. Jacob, how are you?
My head's cold. My skin's showing now. I'm good though. Yeah, I'm excited to see who all we've got here. Let's see. Oh, got a ton of people waiting to get in. There we go.
Good.
Awesome.
We need a ton.
That's right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for making it today. I'm excited to have you all here.
Thanks.
Hey, Kathy, thanks for making it.
Hello.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Give it just a few more minutes and then we can go ahead and get started.
Oh, good.
Okay. I don't see anybody else trying to join right now, so I think we'll go ahead and get started. All right, so yeah, we're back to the monthly leadership calls as of this month. Last month in April, we had the listening session with AFSCME as part of the strategic planning. And so that kind of took place of this. Briefly, I'm going to cover just kind of a refresher of what we talked about in March at the monthly leadership call. And then we'll move on to topics for today's call. Okay. All right, so some of the topics from March were, around election time. So the first thing was like finishing your term strong. And that involves, setting up potentially a new leader who's taking over to be successful, for starters. Oh, there we go. We also briefly talked about chapter newsletters and just the things that make those successful. Some chapter leaders kind of briefly spoke about what they do in their newsletters and what their members appreciate. Then we also talked about, finding engaging guest speakers for your members. What are some of the issues or interests that your members care about that would garner some new participation at meetings. We talked about tools for recruitment and retention. I showed off the flow chart for member-to-member recruitment and, kind of talked about some of the scripts that we have to provide to members if they are going to be attempting to recruit members. And then we also talked about member mobilization, what we do here on the council level to communicate things to members and how chapters can, support that and also do their own communications for things that they're focused on. All right. I'll go ahead and move on to today's topics. So some of the topics that we're covering today are, in lieu of the fact that we have our big mass blind mailing coming in now. We've entered a bunch of new members, and I'll actually get to some details about that towards the end of this call. But these are going to be topics that you want to keep in mind for all the new people that are coming in. How can we convert these new members into engaged members, right? Okay, so garnering new member participation, identifying and cultivating future chapter leaders, utilizing council resources to aid in recruitment and retention, and then following a retention schedule. So we'll kind of talk about that in more detail here in a little bit. And feel free to stop me at any point if you have a question or a comment. Okay, new member participation. So how can we get new members to immediately participate and not lose them to not being engaged? So one way to do that is as a chapter leader, or even just a person designated from the chapter who, is like a very hospitable person, really good at talking with people. Personally invite the new member to a meeting, or if there's an event of some kind, if you're doing summer picnic, those are great opportunities to try to get new members to attend and participate and kind of get their foot in the door, get familiar with other people in the chapter. It's also a good idea to do introductions at chapter meetings, especially, for when you have a new member present and they don't know any of the officers yet. Maybe they know the president, right? But they don't know anybody who's a regular at the meetings. So, just doing a quick little, hey, we've got some new members here at the meeting. Want to give them a chance to meet everybody and know everybody's name. So we're going to go around and do some brief introductions, things like that. I know some chapters said that they do this, and that's really good, just because it can kind of reinforce that they're part of something a little bigger than just a social group or just brief little meetings. It's more like a community. And also give them small responsibilities that makes them feel useful and needed. Some of these things are chapters have, asked new members to be a greeter at the door for a chapter meeting, just saying hello to people as they come in. Or even things like when doing phone trees, some chapters split up calling lists and do phone trees with members, asking them if they'd participate in doing that and giving them a chance to call and talk to members. Might help them feel a little more connected to the other members of the chapter. Ask them about what issues personally matter to them. What sort of things are we already addressing that tackle those issues, those concerns that they have? And what are some things that maybe we haven't looked at yet that are important to them? How can we integrate their issues into what we're doing? Obviously we have legislative priorities, but a lot of the times the needs of members, they overlap. They may be slightly different, but we can accomplish addressing the issues through common means like we do with our priorities. Remind them of their perks as an RPEC member. And so I'll go ahead and get into that as well on this next slide here. Okay. Okay, so RPEC member perks. So one of the main perks that we have that makes us stand out over other organizations is that we have members on important boards and committees around the state, so we get firsthand information. An example of that is we have a member of Chapter 2, Bev Hermanson, who sits on the Select Committee on Pension Policy, which is who supported our bill to do the study for a recurring COLA for the PERS 1 folks. Another example is we have somebody who sits on the State Investment Board. We've got another member who sits on the Public Employees Benefits Board, PEB. And so that makes us really unique compared to a lot of other organizations that are structured like us, because we get firsthand information from these folks that we have on these boards. We're able to keep up really well with what's going on in the healthcare setting, what's going on with investments in the state, and what sort of plans and funding is being put in place for pension security. One of the other main perks that RPEC members have is member-only benefits. And so for starters, the member-only benefits that are available to anybody who joins RPEC are, for starters, AFSCME Advantage is what the program's called, for the benefits that we get through the Federation, our national union. And so these member-only benefits are essentially a list of comprehensive union-level benefits that address all sorts of things. And for any of you who, want to look at a list of these benefits, want to know what they are, we do have them on our website, but you can also just look up AFSCME Advantage, and it's the first link that comes up, and it has all these different benefits on it with links to descriptions to each of them. So it's a good opportunity to, when you're going to be talking to a new member, to maybe familiarize yourself a little bit with the benefits or have it as a reference so that you can ask them, like, what kind of additional benefits could you use to address any issues that you're having, right? How can your membership serve you? A couple of the other benefits we have that aren't part of the AFSCME Advantage program are, we have a partnership with Bright Now Dental. So they've got dental clinics around the state, and we've partnered up with them to get discounts and deals for our members on a variety of different things. That information is also available under our benefits on the website. So if you go onto the website, one of the tabs at the top says join RPEC, I believe is what it says. You hover over it and there's only one drop down for it, and it's member only benefits. All that stuff is included on there. And actually, the last benefit that we also have available on there is from Here in America, HEAR in America. So it's like similar to Bright Now in the sense that it's access to discounts and deals on any sort of hearing related healthcare. One of the main benefits of just joining an advocacy organization like ours is that, we have a platform that's supported by the council and the chapters that creates an avenue for new members or just members in general to get involved with advocacy. And so for some of the members that join that have a history of being, passionate advocates, this is an important piece of the puzzle for them and what they have by being a member with us. A couple of the other positive, a little bit more big event type things that we do that could interest new members is convention and legislative day. So, with convention being only every other year, having new members come in and then trying to follow through like a retention schedule for the first year, and we'll touch base more about what that looks like. At that point, you can see after a year with the new member, if they're interested in participating in things like legislative day or being a convention delegate, it's really about what their preferences are, whether they're kind of quiet, keep to themselves more so, or if they're, passionate for advocacy, or if they're just a really good people person and they want to represent the chapter, things like that. And also to talk about the enjoyable, less businessy aspects of those events. Convention, people told us that it was a convention they'll never forget. And so that's something that, that covers not just the actual legislative piece of it and, doing all of our resolutions and that stuff. They're talking about also the experience, how much joy they got from participating. And then legislative day is an opportunity for members to come from all parts of the state to talk face to face with their legislators at the Capitol. And that's an opportunity that comes literally once a year and is extremely important to how we function. And the other perk is professional representation. We have a team of 6 professional staff, and then we also have chapter leaders and members with a history of leadership positions or just things with high technicalities with responsibility, things like that. Any questions or comments about the perks of being an RPEC member? Okay. Okay, so future chapter leaders. With the new influx of members that we have coming in from the blind mailing, and this is obviously going to be a yearly thing, right about this time every year, we get anywhere from, we've had as low as like 800 something members and as much as like 1,800 members come in from the blind mailing. it's a time to start as you're bringing in these new members and trying to get them participating with the chapter and in meetings, figuring out if amongst them is any leaders that would be good, especially for those that maybe have been trying to step down from leadership for a while or considering it in the near future, whatever your reason may be. It's a good idea to be looking ahead, towards the end of your term and what you can do now to prepare the chapter to have somebody else take over. Who would take your place if you decided to step down? Those are questions that, sometimes maybe chapters don't ask themselves because people don't know anybody who is going to take their place. I know that is the case with some chapters. So amongst new members, it's really good to start asking yourself these questions and trying to figure out, who can we bring in closer and try to cultivate to be a leader for the chapter. Do any new members have leadership in their work history? When you're conversing with new members, you definitely want to find out what's their background, what did they do for work, what were their skills for their job, how can those skills or that experience be applied to a more significant role with the chapter, whether that be an executive board member or a trustee or a chapter officer, or a committee chair possibly, right? And to segue off of that, if you do identify new members that are interested in leadership positions in the near future, the distant future, giving them an opportunity to, shadow some of the responsibilities that chapter officers do. That might give them even more of encouragement to take a deep dive and go for the position if they have a better understanding of how it works and what they would need to do. And so with future chapter leaders, you want to be thinking about long-term chapter success. And that's why these are important things to ask when you got new members coming in. If you have a vacant officer position in your chapter, for example, you maybe want to be looking for who could fulfill that to help, take the workload off of those that are trying to pick up the slack. How can we make the chapter operate better? How can we fill these positions, right? You want to be looking at long-term success when you're identifying leaders among your new members. Any questions or comments so far? All right, I'll keep moving on. Council resources for recruitment and retention. So for example, we have or can acquire contact information for leaders of union locals. So if you're if you're interested in talking with or presenting to like a union local in your area, or like a public utilities department, any sort of group of folks that would be eligible to be RPEC members, we can get contact information for these things if we don't already have it. I have a lot of the contact information for union locals around the state, and that's something I would be happy to help any leader or member act on to try to get engaged with other organizations or unions. Some of the other resources we have scripts for contacting new members. We also have scripts for reaching out to members that dropped, trying to figure out what it is that caused them to drop and if you can flip them back to being an active member again or not. We've got a handful of scripts to address different things for that. And then I obviously created that recruitment flow chart that's essentially like a visual script for how a member could recruit directly another member to the organization. Some other things we have available are flyers and other materials that you can post in public. I know some chapters have done things like post some of our flyers at like a senior center or the library or things like that. Just trying to create visibility in your community so that people are looking and seeing that. And if you make yourself available, you give a phone number or something like that, you might get phone calls from people asking more questions about it and what you do. And then also we have some materials for talking points. We have like brochures that cover the benefits of RPEC, 10 good reasons to join RPEC. These are things that, if as a chapter leader, you want a copy of each of these things for reference, we absolutely can provide those to you. And I think it's really good for, when you're trying to talk to people on a comprehensive level about all the positives of RPEC and why they should be a member. Sometimes it's hard to, pull all of those pieces out of it and put them all together for them. So having these materials to reference is really helpful. All right. Any other questions or comments before I move forward? Okay, so this is just going to be more so as an example because realistically, retention schedules kind of need to be tailored to, each chapter's capacity. How much can you realistically follow up with new members based on, who you have available in your officers and everything to be able to reach out to people, right? And so this is an example of what a retention schedule could look like, and I'll go into further detail about each one of these points. I actually have a document that I will share real quick. 1 second here. Okay. Can you guys see that Word document?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so when a new member joins, it starts off with a welcome. From the council office, we send a new member packet in the mail to each new member. And so what that typically includes is a pamphlet about our benefits, any new member information. We have a new member brochure that's just kind of a general breakdown of like the structure of RPEC, what are chapters, what are our priorities, things like that. And a new member letter as well. So in that letter, it kind of briefly outlines, some of our accomplishments. It also provides information about who their president is, what their chapter is, and contact information for the president so that they have an opportunity to contact somebody. And then something else that we include, at least in the blind mailing, is we're going to include a copy of the newsletter, the newest newsletter that's about to be coming out for the council, the quarterly newsletter, that is. And so if there's any of you that don't know about our quarterly newsletter for any reason, we do a quarterly newsletter that's a comprehensive breakdown of, what did we do in the last few months. It includes like a political action form, things like that. So that way new members will be able to see more information about what we've been doing currently, more recent achievements. Okay, and then so on the chapter level, you may consider, as part of welcoming a new member, reaching out to them personally via call or email to welcome them. It might be a good time to get them excited or, try to encourage them to attend like a meeting or any events that you're going to be hosting. All right. So it's month 2. Once again, the timeline of this could be a little adjustable per chapter, but this is a 12-month breakdown, month by month. So I'll just keep moving through it like that. Month number 2, you want to make sure that they are engaged. How can you get them engaged? Personally invite them to participate in an upcoming event or meeting and let them know you're excited to work with them. You can always offer to meet with them separately to answer any lingering questions, give them a chance to have a little bit more of a one-on-one discussion. This is also a chance for you to find out what issues are most important to them. And so following that, let's say, for example, you got them to come to a chapter meeting, right? So now following up for month 3, you check in, follow up with the member regarding their experience with the chapter so far and any events they've maybe participated in. Reaffirm that you're grateful for their participation and you want their experience in the chapter to be positive. Also, it's another chance to answer any additional questions that they may have, and giving them an opportunity to kind of speak to their own perspective about things and to any ideas or concerns that they may have. Once again, feel free to raise your hand and stop me at any point. Otherwise, I'll just keep on going. So, go ahead, Nancy.
I just was hopeful that you have this document that you can share with us in the future.
Absolutely. What I'll do actually is I'll send it out to all chapter leaders along with the PowerPoint, just so you have both of those for context. And then the recording for this meeting will be made available on the website under our monthly leadership call archive.
Great. Then I don't have to take these detailed notes.
Yeah. I guess I should have started with that. This is obviously a lot of information on this one document right here. So don't feel like you have to write it down word for word. I should have
That's a
started with
lot of-
that. So
That's a lot of good info.
yeah, and I mostly, I just took kind of like, what does a general retention schedule look like? Oh, go ahead, Kathy.
Could you send me the new membership information? After 10 years, I really can't remember, and I know a lot has changed.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and the scripts for the phone calls, please. Both of
You
them.
got it. Absolutely, Kathy.
Thank you.
No problem. And yeah, if anybody else, is wanting any of the membership materials, like the any of the pamphlets or the flyer or anything like that that I was referring to, just let me know. I can mail that to you. It's no problem at all. So, okay. Okay, so provide for month 4. So provide at this time, it's about, providing access to or contacts for resources, information that address their needs. By this time, maybe, hopefully you've had a chance to discuss with them about, what issues matter most to them, and what kind of things are they needing to address their needs. And so this could just even be an email about local or federal issues that are major concerns or interests to them. And, that might include how they could get involved, or, if other members are getting involved, how they can participate with the group, things like that. So provide, meaning that you want to give them the tools and the resources to, have the best success with the chapter and have their needs addressed. So, okay, so month number 5 would be, I left out a section here. Month number 5 would actually be mentoring. So mentoring would be, giving, you might identify somebody in the chapter, like a chapter officer, maybe a chair, or just another member who has been a part of the chapter for long enough that they really understand the inner workings, and have somebody identified as a mentor for your new members, somebody that they can reach out to for any small thing, or somebody they can get really comfortable with, that they know they can ask questions to as they come along, things like that. You want to give them a person that they can rely on communicating with. Yeah, and I'll add, I must have accidentally deleted the mentor section, so I'll add that back before I send it out. So moving on to month 6 is survey. Okay. And so by survey, I don't mean, developing your own survey to send out to new members. It's more so, it's an opportunity to review the retention strategy you've been using so far and how effective it's been in, converting that new member into an engaged member. And are they at risk of lapsing? So some of the questions you might ask yourself are, have they participated in any chapter meetings or events? If they did, were they engaged? When was the last time a chapter leader contacted them directly? Some of these things can be key in keeping members engaged, because I don't remember where I read this, but whereas in the past, maybe it took 2 or 3 times of reaching out to potential members or new members to get them engaged. Now you're looking at, 6 or 7 times. We got to constantly be reaching out to make sure that, they're thinking about us and that all their needs have been met so far. All right, and then some of the questions that you might ask the new member directly is, have they accessed RPEC's member-only benefits? And so, that would include maybe directing them to the website where they can find that stuff, maybe even personally showing them, while you're interacting with them face-to-face, showing them how to access those things. A lot of our members, current members, don't know about our benefits or don't know much about them. And I imagine that benefits could be a pivotal point for some of the people that join our organization, in terms of if they're going to be engaged, how long they're going to stick around. The benefits are really huge, considering they're like union level benefits, and we're not technically a union. So that's a really huge perk that we have for how small our dues are compared to like union dues, for example. Has the chapter or council addressed, or council addressed your main interests and concerns? If there's anything that's been left by the wayside that's important to them, you might consider how that can be integrated into, what your chapter is doing or what the council is doing. And also just asking them a simple satisfaction scale, on a scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied are you with your membership? And, based on that response, what are some things that you would like to change to improve your satisfaction with your experience with the chapter? So yeah, after you've had an opportunity to kind of get an understanding of where their head's at with their membership, if their needs are being adequately met or not, you want to take the opportunity at month number 7 to connect with them. You want to strengthen your personal engagements with the new member, make sure that they feel connected, and it's not just it's not just a business relationship. We're advocates standing in solidarity together. You could consider maybe sending like a handwritten note, making a personal phone call, or meeting with them over Zoom. Try to just have a a casual chat, really, just giving them the opportunity to feel like that they're a person and you're also just a person. It's not entirely chapter business, right? And if you strengthen your personal connections with your new members, they're more likely to feel a part of the group, welcome, and they'll stick around. So okay, so moving on to month number 8, highlight. You want to communicate to the new member at this time what you appreciate about their involvement with the counselor or the chapter. Some ways you could do this is giving them a shout out in a chapter-wide email, or maybe even in the newsletter. Just pointing out, this person joined us back in January, and they jumped right in and participated in this meeting, and they helped greet members coming in the door, just giving them some acknowledgement about their efforts in participating with the chapter. It goes a long way to make people feel, useful, needed, and important. Okay, moving on to month 9, encourage. This is a time to encourage the member to consider playing a greater role in the chapter. They may be a good mentor for upcoming new members, right? Especially if they were provided with a mentor, or they had somebody to connect with as a mentor during their time as a member. The new member may be a great fit for a leadership position, whether that be an officer, a trustee, executive board, a chair, or maybe even you see potential in them being an executive board member statewide in the future, right? They could be really helpful participating in volunteer opportunities. So if there's volunteer opportunities that like you do on the local level, I know some folks are like involved with the food bank, things like that. Giving them an opportunity to do volunteer service with the chapter and serve a good cause. Okay, and moving on to month number 10, demonstrate. So at this time, you want to convey to your new member the value of their membership. Talk about accomplishments that the chapter, the council has achieved. Anything from COLAs to holding the healthcare authority accountable, those kinds of things, especially if you've gone through the trouble of asking them what things matter to them. You can come full circle to demonstrate the value of membership by covering those things that are important to them. How does the value of membership address their needs, right? And so that's what this is about, is reaffirming to them that this membership is worth the time and the cost because of what they get out of it. You can even include member testimonials about the value of being a member. On our Google page, we have a few reviews on there, and one of them is from Martin Rollins, the secretary of Chapter 2, and it's a nice review. It's brief, but it's not too short, and including something like that can demonstrate the value of being a member, especially if the person who gave the testimonial is from the new members chapter, right? All right, and so moving on to month 11. If the member's a cash member, this is a time to encourage them to renew their membership, start talking to them about it. Your anniversary is coming up. Have you considered, going for another year of membership and participating? We'd love to have you still. You want to continue to demonstrate the value of their membership and the gratitude that you have for them and their participation. All right, and then in month 12, consider acknowledging anniversaries for members. So this is kind of like what I was talking about a little bit earlier. If you give members, some sort of acknowledgement, congratulations on a full year of participation with the chapter. You're more likely to continue to see them return to chapter meetings and to stick with their membership. You could even do something as simple as sending out a card to congratulate them and thank them for their year of membership. Just pretty simple stuff, and the celebrate, that is entirely up to you, how you deem is appropriate to, maybe celebrate's not the right word, but, celebrating the fact that a new member stuck around for the full year. The retention schedule seemed to be appropriate for the chapter's needs, things like that. So before I move on, again, does anybody have any questions about this so far? Okay. And after I send this off to all of you guys, feel free to reach out to me about it. If you have suggestions or questions about any of it, I'm all ears to members' input. So, okay. So let's go ahead and get back to the PowerPoint real quick here. Okay. Oops. Okay, so, go ahead, Claire.
On the list you just ran through, one thing that came to mind for me, and I know there are some chapters that do this already, but welcoming new members in your newsletters might be one way to encourage the engagement we're trying to get.
I think that's a great idea, Claire. Absolutely. Yeah, any opportunities you have to create visibility for the new member and make them feel that like it's a big deal that they're a part of the chapter and that the people in the chapter are excited to have them. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Okay, so moving on to just a brief little update about the blind mailing. So we've been entering in new member cards since about May 12th, May 8th, yeah. And so to date, I ran this morning to find the numbers. Between Alyssa, Emmett, and myself, we have entered in 1,108 new members into the database, and so that brings up our total membership from about 11,500 and some change to 12,623. We're almost at the point to where we're going to be saying nearly 13,000 members instead of nearly 12,000. So that's a huge jump. It's really exciting. Yeah, we still got at least a few hundred or so to still enter as well. So this is going to be closer to, I would say, 1,500 total new members. Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Are these new members, have they been sent out to the chapters so that we have them on our contact list?
No, not yet, but I will be including new rosters upcoming to reflect all these new members. So in June, when I do the monthly reports for adds, drops, changes in the roster, I will include a new roster at that point because of all these changes. Typically, the schedule in which I would include a new roster to each chapter would be January, April, July, and then October. But with all these new members, I want to make sure you guys have like a full list of all your members and all their information. So yeah, next month at the beginning of the month, I will be sending out rosters with that. So yeah, here in about 2 weeks. Good question, Steve. Okay. Also, I wanted to say thank you to members who came into the office to help us sort through the mail. We were getting USPS crates just full of over 1,000 envelopes in each one of these crates of mail. So we had stacks of 100 that were bundled up by the post office of envelopes to open and sort them out. We were getting the surveys and the blind mailings, and they were all bundled together. So it was just a huge mess to sort through, and we had some really great people come in and help do that so that we could get right to entering in members. So yeah, there's some folks from chapter 2 and I know Nancy was around, and yeah, there was a few others as well. We had quite a few people. Yeah, Kathy.
Maurice?
And Maurice as well. Yep. Go ahead,
Where did
Kathy.
you get that? Where did you get the names for the blind mailing? Where did you get those people? Is that from people who have recently retired?
So it's from a DRS list that we don't see, hence the the blind mailing aspect of it. But every year we get an updated list from DRS that has this massive over 100,000 entries of all these different retirees in Washington, and they're anywhere from just retired since they ran that report to retired 20 years ago possibly, because we have members that haven't joined. Yeah. And so members who haven't joined do get the blind mailing each year. And we've actually had members who ended up joining after getting it like 3 years in a row. So it's a really great positive that that's how it functions, and we can continue to reach out to members that have maybe passed on membership before. So great question. Yeah. And I do update at the membership committee, and I believe at the executive board meeting as well, what our conversion rate is out of how many mailings we sent out versus how many people signed up, right? And I can tell you already, looking at it this year, historically on the blind mailing, it's been like 1.5%. We're already almost at 2%, and we still got more to process. So 2% seems small, but when you're talking about like 130,000 people that we're doing a mailing to, 2% is quite a bit. Good question, Kathy. Okay. These are just some upcoming events. I know that some people have been looking forward to the website listening session. And so on June 2nd, there will be 2 listening sessions. One of those is for leaders. The second website listening session is going to be, seeing what new members are thinking for how a website would best function, things like that. Trying to get some fresh perspective on that as well. So take the opportunity to, talk to some of your members or your officers about, some of the things that you as a chapter leader could talk about at this website listening session, or maybe some questions that members would have. And you can find that on our calendar. So both of those listening sessions, the leaders and the newer members one, is the same day. One is in the morning, one's in the afternoon, and you can find exact details on the website. All right. And then 3 weeks from today will be the next monthly leadership call on June 9th. We've got a lot of stuff going on later in the month, and so we're doing it a little bit early. And so, something I want to put out there for everyone is, if you have things to, topics that may be good discussion for other chapter leaders, definitely suggest that to me. I'm very receptive to even bringing on a chapter leader to talk over the Zoom chat to whatever their points are that they provided. So Sue, go ahead, and then Carol.
Yeah, Jacob, for some reason, you and I are having a hard time with our emailing each other. And I didn't get an email or for this call, and Carol let me know that this was today. So maybe we can talk offline about how we're going to correct this.
Yeah, absolutely. I know sometimes we just have email domains that don't receive our emails. Comcast, Charter, those are big ones that are extremely inconsistent. I'll get return emails on things that say this email was undeliverable, where I had previously sent that person an email, no problem. So yeah, we can follow up, Sue, about this. I'm so sorry about that you did not get the memo.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. The way that I usually do is I have an entire leader list of every leader for all the chapters with their emails, and I take that list, pop it into the email, and then send off the information. So I will double check my process and make sure that it wasn't something to do with that. And yeah, we'll figure out what's going on. All right, Carol.
I'm just asking if the ID and passcode for the next leadership meeting will be the same as this one.
It should be, yes. Alyssa typically copies the invitation over and makes a new one out of it using the same information for signing in.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Some other big things we have going on this month is the leadership training. And so on June 26th will be leadership training for all chapter leaders. That's also for people who are looking ahead to that have interest in being chapter leaders. So, if you already have people in your chapter that whether they're new or have been around a while and are wanting to, that are considering maybe being a leader in the future, definitely invite them to come along so they can see how it works. All right, go ahead, Nancy.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that on the calendar on the website for the meetings, there's a link there in that calendar. If you hit that, that will take you to the meetings, especially these that are ongoing. So if you go to the next meeting calendar and click that, you can get the Zoom connection right away.
Thank you, Nancy. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've been providing Derek too with information about chapter meetings. So he's gotten, most, if not all of the chapter meetings up on the RPEC calendar as well. So thank you to all the chapter leaders that got back to me, confirming your meeting schedule for the rest of the year. Okay, and then the second part of the leadership training is for those involved in chapter finances. So, secretaries, treasurers, maybe trustees, right? So I highly encourage all chapter leaders and district leaders to, talk with their officers. And this is an important training that it's a living document. It's ongoing. I know a lot of you have taken this training in the past, but it's always changing and being updated to reflect, what we're doing differently now, what sort of resources we have available, things like that. So any other questions or comments? Okay. Well, I appreciate everyone who came here today. And like I said previously, I would definitely be, oh, go ahead, Shirley.
First of all, I apologize for being late, but I do have a question. It's kind of a philosophical question.
Okay.
So, and I missed the first part because my tablet wasn't charged up enough, but what are the goals of a chapter meeting? I mean,
So
we want people to join and send money so that we can lobby more. And I get all that part. But when you talk about inviting people to a chapter meeting, what are the goals? If it's just to have a social hour, or is it, for me, I need to have a goal or a reason to go to a meeting.
Yeah.
And it would be to build community. And I don't think we're doing very well at building community. And I don't know exactly how to explain that, but I think there are things that work, like speakers, of course, and things like that. But it just seems like if we're gonna have chapter meetings, then we need to offer those people coming, and the new people, we have to entice them to come for a reason. There has to be a reason to give up an hour and a half of your afternoon just to socialize. I mean, if it's just a social party, it should just be called that. That's all. I don't know where I'm going with it. They have all these things that swirl around.
No, that's a good comment, a good mention. Yeah, I mean, really, when we're talking about what sort of value they'd get out of the meeting, there's the general things that we say a meeting is for, but on a chapter level, that's with the support of the office, that's really up to chapter leaders. What is going to be the contents of the meeting? What's the objective of having everybody gather? Maybe there's some local legislation or, something on the local level that's really important to discuss. It's an opportunity for you to elaborate on things that are going on with the council as well. I know everybody gets the newsletter and it has the executive director's report, but that doesn't always cover things that are happening throughout each month, right? Those are written ahead of time for each month. And so things change. I think you really have to get creative on the chapter level about, what are we doing at our meetings? Is it just a social hour? Is it something that is covering topics that are important to members? I think what makes it hard too is coming out of the pandemic and not having the same level of participation, right? Or we have a lot of, we have an aging population of members, and, over the course of the last, 5 or so years, some members have had worsening health issues, things like that too. And so maybe another way to offer value is to, offer hybrid meetings so people don't have to leave their house, things like that. Anyway, no, that's a good mention, Shirley. Go ahead, Colleen, and then Robert.
Yes, this is in response to what Shirley has said. I've announced this before, but I think it's important related to what goes on at a meeting. People who have retired in the last several years, the younger retirees have specifically, many of them specifically stated, I want a reason to go to a meeting. Have an agenda item on something you're going to talk about. An agenda is not the speaker. It could be related to what the speaker has said. However, try to plan on an agenda item to discuss as an attractant to get people to utilize the time to show up at a meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that mention, Colleen. I think that's a great idea. All right, Robert, go ahead.
Yeah, well, thank you, Jacob. I understand that you said that this slideshow will be sent to us.
Yes.
And the one thing that a lot of my members are asking for an incentive is T-shirts and other things like that. I think this information that you've given us is quite useful, and I'll bring it to our meeting for our new leaderships. Could you tell me a little bit more about how to purchase or go about purchasing the incentives? And what about the booklet on the new members that have the districts and phone numbers and things like that that comes out? Some of our new members would like to have some copies of that. Could you comment on that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, part of the new member packets that we send out from the office here includes, like district maps. In the letter, it includes contact information and details about, where your chapter, what region your chapter represents, who's your president, things like that. And in the new member brochure as well, it has, additional details on the structure of the organization. How can you get involved? What is, we have the elected board, and then we do convention with delegates to elect the board members, like our whole process for all of the governing as well. And that also talks about our legislative priorities in there as well, in that pamphlet. And then I think what you're talking about with the merchandise, right? Branded swag, we'll call it. That's what some people refer to it as, right? I think branded merchandise could be a good idea for chapters. One thing to consider is, how much could your chapter afford to do that, right? So it'd have to be something you have to look at on an individual chapter level. Using the t-shirts as an example, there was a period of time through COVID where we really didn't sell any of our t-shirts, and we just had a bunch left over, right? And so that's what we brought to like convention, and we brought it to some other events like Legislative Day, things like that. I'd have to follow up with Derek about the shirts, because the shirts, to buy them is like $30 a piece brand new. And so we've been selling the extras that we still have that didn't sell, over the last few years. We're selling them for $10 to, get them to chapter members that want them. So I'll have to follow up with you, Robert, after I have a conversation with Derek about, what could we support in providing merchandise to chapters. So
Thank you, Jacob.
Of course. Go ahead, Claire.
Will that new member packet information be shared with chapter leaders in the leadership training? Because us old timers, we don't see what the new members get.
Yeah, absolutely. I can make sure that is brought into the leadership training, that you guys get a chance to see what members are getting. Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea, Claire. Absolutely. Okay. And again, I can provide, if anybody's wanting it prior to that as well, or just at any point in time, you're missing a piece of membership materials that you'd like to have for reference, please let me know, because I can send you something. It'd be easy peasy. So. Okay, anybody have any other questions or comments?
I have a comment.
Yeah, absolutely.
In regards to the meeting information, we usually do have speakers, but this next meeting, in lieu of a speaker, we're going to discuss why you come to these meetings, because to help us with that new membership deal that's going on, you know, isn't it still going that we can earn our dues by signing up members? And
Absolutely.
so that would help give them some people some information and renew some talking points. And in calling people on the new membership list and all, I'd like ideas, and in looking for speakers, I'd like ideas about why are you coming to these meetings? Because ours are not just social. But we almost always have speakers, and they run a little long, our meetings do. So I want to know, what are people interested in? What has worked, and why do you come?
Absolutely. No, I think that's great. And you know, I like the idea of including some of that information in the new member packet. Yeah, I think any chapter leaders too who, you know, have a piece to share on, you know, what their members have conveyed to you is most important to them, and the value of coming to meetings, things like that. That'd be good to share as well, because I know that it really depends on the way that each chapter operates, what sort of interest generally does each chapter have. And I'd be more than willing to help chapter leaders identify those things and try to kind of revamp the content that they're having at their meetings. So yeah, that's a good mention, Kathy. Thank you. Shirley, and then Susan.
I think one of the things you could do that I noticed just from looking around, none of the members on any of the committees are posted on the website. Like, I don't know who is the ledge policy chair or the PAC policy chair. And also, you know, I like Facebook groups, and that's a good way to discuss issues that, you know, keep kind of, it's communication, and it's a way to talk to each other. And it's really important to read articles and things that other people are looking at that you may not even have in your worldview. It's interesting to know that other members. So I like Facebook groups. If there's a way to do that, I think that's a great way for people to stay in touch with members all over the state to discuss issues. And maybe that translates into getting people out to political events so we can get people elected that represent us over the long haul. Anyway, thank you.
Absolutely.
Good
Yeah,
job.
thank you. Quick comment, and then Susan, I'll let you go ahead as well. Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. It's something I've brought up in a previous monthly leadership call about, you know, if you have a person in your chapter, or maybe you as a leader who is familiar enough with Facebook to, you know, create a page for your chapter, and I could always help you with that if that's something you are interested in. I guarantee that you probably have enough members in your chapter that would tune into that over, you know, going to meetings possibly. Some folks are just not going to show up to meetings no matter what we do. Some folks don't want that. So I think having something like a Facebook page is going to help members, you know, kind of bridge that gap. So that's a great idea. Susan, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm a relatively new member, and so I have some input to give on that. My first meeting was the end of August.
Oh, welcome.
And thank you. And what I have found is, one, I do enjoy the meetings. We have good speakers and we have good discussions. All my questions have been have been answered, and I have found that, and I've been invited specifically to become a leader in our local chapter, and I just feel like I belong. All our meetings have a meet and greet and eat, and so we do have that social time at the beginning, and then we have our speaker, and then we have a short business meeting, and the speakers are absolutely fabulous. And so I think not everybody wants to get involved right away, but those personal invitations to just get involved has been really helpful.
Thanks for sharing, Susan. Yeah, that's good context. You know, that kind of demonstrates what a good retention strategy could look like, you know, personally following up with your new members, reaching out to them about opportunities for them to get involved or to, you know, get information about issues that are important to them in the chapter. So yeah, thanks, Susan. Yeah, welcome aboard, and we appreciate you being here for the call today and sharing. So
Thank you.
okay. Any other comments or questions? Oh yeah, and actually, Kathy, to your point about the recruit too, something I could look at doing is recruit or including a additional handout in the new member packets that is just a tidbit about recruit to get your dues. So that way new members can even see that and say, oh yeah, I have a couple coworkers that you know, are retired or going to be retiring soon or something like that. And so they could quickly convert some of their coworkers into members as well, things like that. So that's something I will talk with Derek about. I think that could be a good idea. So thanks for sharing that, actually. Carol, go ahead.
So I was a union leader at one point in my life. And one of the things that kind of disturbed me was the discussion of printing new members' names in the newsletter. And it just, you know, it sounds like such a great idea, but you could run into domestic violence victims who don't want to have their name published in that way for their own personal reasons. I mean, I would think, I'm just being cautionary. I would think before you printed someone's name in a newsletter for publication, you would get their permission first, because you don't know the circumstances that people, you know, experience in their lives. So I just wanted to put out a cautionary word. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Carol. I appreciate that. You know, that's not something that I had considered, and I think you make an extremely valid point. So yeah, you know, if you develop a retention schedule, or you want to use kind of what I created, and I can support you in that. Yeah, something to consider when you're trying to give acknowledgements to new members is, you know, how receptive would they be of you doing a shout out for them for whatever the reason might be. So yeah, thanks, Carol. I appreciate the mention. Okay. Any other questions or comments? All right. Well, feel free also outside of this meeting to reach out to me. You know, if you, I'll send these all out to you. And so if you're looking over it and you think of something else, or you just have another idea relating to what we talked to today, or you have an idea for a future leadership call, you know, feel free to reach out to me. I try to make myself available to anybody and everybody in membership. So thank you all again for being here today.
Good job, Jacob. Lots of good information.
Thank you, Nancy. I appreciate everybody coming today, and you guys had a lot of good stuff to say. We had some new members. We had some new leaders. Kathy Mills is the new Chapter 17 president. So want to say thank you to her efforts on taking on that leadership position with Chapter 17. So thanks, Kathy.
Thanks, Jacob,
right.
For the engaging discussion. Lots of information, and you got people to respond and ask questions. So that's really cool.
Thank you, Claire. I appreciate the feedback. All right, everybody. Yeah, thanks for being here again today, and feel free to reach out to me. I will get you guys these materials right away.
Thank you.
And then
Thank
Sue, I'll
you,
give you a
Jacob.
call, okay?
Thank you, Jake.
Thanks,
Okay,
Jacob.
thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys. Everyone have a great day.
You too.